Howdy, folks. Today we're looking at Boof and the Bruise Crew #1 from 1994 in Image Comics. The early years of Image Comics were a strange and surreal time in so many ways, and it doesn't get much stranger than our friend Boof and his Bruise Crew. If you've never had the honor of meeting Boof, he's a caveman from outer space leading an expedition of wacky space aliens to investigate the planet Earth. These strange creatures were the brainchild of none other than Todd McFarlane, who took time out of his busy schedule in the early 90s to create a children's comic aimed specifically at the Walmart audience. Because most young kids couldn't actually buy Spawn. Of the Image founders, he was the only one to see the significance of doing comics for younger readers, and that should be acknowledged. But it must also be acknowledged that Boof, as a character in a franchise, wasn't very good. Because yes, there was indeed a full franchise, with this series joined by another book devoted to Boof's solo adventures. Both books ran for 6 issues, but failed to set the world on fire. I certainly don't think that's down to any of the creators involved. Beau Smith wrote a fair number of comics in the 90s, and while he's certainly not the first person I would have picked to write a kid's comic at the time, he does the best he can with a punishing remit. Makes sense out of Todd's disjointed understanding of what might appeal to small children. The art is actually pretty decent from a fellow named Tim Harkins, who worked primarily as a letterer beginning at DC in the early 80s and expanding outwards. As a Bigfoot artist, this is good work, comparable to what you might expect from Scott Shaw. The problem is that there's only so much even the best artist could do with Boof as a design. He's a gnarled chunk of muscle without much in the way of an expressive face, always crouching and always grumpy. His catchphrase is thrillin' and skillin', and you know because he says it repeatedly. The goal here is seemingly less direct competition with Casper or Archie, and more Ren and Stimpy, and especially Beavis and Butthead. Boof and his Bruise Crew present an answer to one of the stranger questions posed by the 90s comics industry. Just what would kids' comics look like if they didn't have the comics code? The answer is that they would be preoccupied with farts and bodily fluids to a startling degree. There's a lot of peeing in this comic, including explicit mentions of golden showers, poop jokes, and even some throwing up. All of what you want to see in a comic intended for our youngest readers.